Right, let's have a proper chat about something that's been weighing on my mind lately, and I reckon it's something that affects pretty much all of us. It's this exhausting habit we've all got of caring far too much about what other people think of us. And I don't mean just caring a bit, I mean that bone-deep, stomach-churning anxiety that keeps us awake at night wondering if we said the wrong thing at the office party or if our outfit choice made us look like a complete muppet. Today, I want to talk about why we do this to ourselves and, more importantly, how we can stop. Because here's the thing, and I'll say this right up front, most people aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are. In fact, they're probably too busy worrying about what you think of them.
Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Caring what others think isn't actually a character flaw. It's hardwired into our DNA. Back when our ancestors were living in small tribes, being rejected by the group literally meant death. If you were cast out, you'd face predators, starvation, and the elements alone. So our brains evolved to be hyper-vigilant about social approval because it was a matter of survival. The problem is, we're no longer living in caves, are we? We're living in a world where social media amplifies every interaction, where we're constantly bombarded with other people's highlight reels, and where the definition of tribe has expanded to include everyone from your primary school mates to complete strangers on the internet. Your brain hasn't caught up with this reality. It's still operating under the assumption that if Karen from accounting doesn't laugh at your joke, you might literally die. Spoiler alert, you won't.
But let's talk about what this people-pleasing is actually costing you, because the price is steeper than you might realise. First, there's the opportunity cost. Every moment you spend crafting the perfect response to avoid offending anyone is a moment you're not spending on what actually matters to you. Every decision you make based on what others might think is a decision you're not making for yourself. I remember spending an entire weekend rewriting an email, because I was terrified it might come across as too direct or not friendly enough. Meanwhile, the project I was actually passionate about sat gathering dust on my desk. That's not productivity, that's paralysis. Then there's the authenticity cost. When you're constantly adjusting your personality to fit what you think others want to see, you lose touch with who you actually are. You become a shapeshifter, and whilst that might seem like a superpower, it's actually quite tragic. Because if nobody knows the real you, including yourself, how can you form genuine connections? And perhaps most importantly, there's the happiness cost. Research consistently shows that people who base their self-worth on external validation are more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and a general sense of emptiness. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom. No amount of approval will ever be enough.
Now, before we get into the solutions, let's debunk some of the myths that keep us trapped in this cycle. Myth number 1. If I stop caring what people think, I'll become selfish and horrible. This is bollocks, frankly. There's a massive difference between being considerate and being controlled by others' opinions. You can still be kind, respectful, and empathetic without sacrificing your own needs and values on the altar of public approval. Myth number 2. Everyone is judging me all the time. Here's a reality check. Most people are far too preoccupied with their own lives to spend much time analysing yours. There's actually a psychological phenomenon called the spotlight effect, where we vastly overestimate how much attention others pay to our behaviour and appearance. That embarrassing thing you did last week? They've probably already forgotten about it.
Myth number 3. I need everyone to like me to be successful. Some of the most successful people in history were deeply unpopular in their time. Think about innovators, artists, and leaders who challenged the status quo. They couldn't have made their impact if they'd been paralyzed by the fear of criticism.
So, how do we actually stop caring what people think? It's not about flipping a switch and suddenly becoming indifferent to everyone around you. It's about developing a healthier relationship with external opinions. Start by getting clear on your own values. I mean, really clear. Sit down and write them out. What matters to you? What kind of person do you want to be? What legacy do you want to leave? When you have a strong internal compass, external opinions become less influential because you've got something more reliable to guide you. Next, practice distinguishing between constructive feedback and noise. If someone gives you specific, actionable advice about something you're trying to improve, that's worth considering. If someone makes a vague comment about how you should be living your life, that's probably more about them than you. Here's a practical exercise. For 1 week, notice every time you're about to make a decision based on what others might think. Before you post that photo, before you choose that outfit, before you speak up in a meeting, pause and ask yourself, am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or because I'm trying to manage someone else's opinion of me?
Confidence isn't something you're born with or without. It's a skill you can develop. And like any skill, it requires practice. Start small. Wear something you love but weren't sure about. Share an opinion you've been keeping to yourself. Say no to something you don't want to do. Each time you act authentically, despite the potential for judgment, you're building evidence for yourself that you can survive and even thrive without universal approval. Remember, you're not trying to win a popularity contest. You're trying to live a life that feels true to who you are. And the beautiful irony is that when you stop desperately seeking approval, you often become more likable anyway. Authenticity is magnetic. People are drawn to those who seem comfortable in their own skin.
Here's something I've learned. The people whose opinions matter most to you should be the people who know you best and want what's best for you. Your critics and your cheerleaders are both important, but they serve different purposes. Your critics, the good ones anyway, help you grow. They point out blind spots and challenge you to be better, but they should be people who've earned the right to have an opinion about your life through their relationship with you and their demonstrated wisdom. Your cheerleaders remind you of your worth when you forget it yourself. They celebrate your wins and help you bounce back from setbacks. Again, these should be people who actually know you, not random strangers on the internet. Everyone else? Their opinion is just noise, and you have every right to turn down the volume.
I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine waking up tomorrow and genuinely not worrying about what people think of your choices. Imagine speaking up in meetings because you have something valuable to contribute, not because you've calculated exactly how your words will be received. Imagine posting that photo, wearing that outfit, pursuing that dream, simply because it feels right to you.
This isn't about becoming reckless or inconsiderate. It's about reclaiming your right to live your own life. It's about recognizing that you can't control what people think anyway, so you might as well be authentically yourself whilst they're thinking it. The freedom that comes from letting go of others' opinions is extraordinary. Suddenly, you have all this mental energy that was previously tied up in worry and second-guessing. You can redirect it toward things that actually matter: your relationships, your goals, your growth, your joy. Let me leave you with some concrete strategies you can start implementing today. First, develop a "so what" mindset. When you catch yourself spiraling about what someone might think, literally ask yourself, so what if they think that? Most of the time, you'll realize the consequences you're imagining are either unlikely or manageable. Second, surround yourself with people who appreciate the real you. If you're constantly feeling like you need to perform or pretend around someone, that might tell you something about the relationship. Third, practice self-compassion. You're going to mess up sometimes. You're going to say the wrong thing or make poor choices. That's called being human. Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend. Fourth, remember that you're not responsible for managing other people's emotions. If someone chooses to be offended or upset by your authentic self, that's their work to do, not yours.
Look, I'm not going to stand here and pretend this is easy. Caring less about what people think is one of those things that sounds simple but requires genuine courage to implement. It means disappointing some people. It means being misunderstood sometimes. It means accepting that not everyone will like you, and that's actually perfectly fine. But here's what I know for certain. The people worth having in your life will appreciate your authenticity. The opportunities worth pursuing will be more accessible when you're not hiding behind a carefully constructed facade. And the person you'll become when you stop living for others' approval is someone you'll actually enjoy being. Your life is not a performance for other people's entertainment. It's not a democracy where everyone gets a vote on your choices. It's yours, and it's time you started living it like you mean it. The world doesn't need another people pleaser. It needs you, the real, unfiltered, occasionally imperfect, but genuinely authentic you. So stop caring what they think and start caring about what you think. Your future self will thank you for it. Right, that's enough from me today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And yes, I realise the irony of asking for your opinions in a video about not caring what people think. But here's the difference. I'm asking because I'm genuinely curious about your experiences, not because I need your approval to feel good about myself. Until next time, be brave, be yourself, and remember, you're far more resilient than your anxious brain gives you credit for.